Final Stop Brazil, Book 2, Life After Hell, Chapter 30, Without Any Hope. 20th of March 2008. A long time I had thought about the decision to finally throw the job. The end of February was for me also the end of Embromed. Since then, I felt a little better. I just couldn't stand the other women anymore, and now I had time for other worthwhile causes, for example, to fight for my freedom. Twice I wrote to the judge, who handled my case. Whether it made a difference, I didn't know, but it gave me the feeling to do something. Less friendly than to the judge, I wrote to Wesley and told him to finally do something for his money. Alleged that he was completely passive and did nothing for my process to set it in motion. I insisted to see facts, threatened to take another lawyer, because except the regime semi-aberto, he did absolutely nothing to speed up the appeals procedure. Meanwhile, I had paid already 1,500 reais alone for the semi-aberto, without any guarantee that I would actually go to the open prison. I believed no longer in it. The only chance I saw in it to receive as quickly as possible the result of the appeal proceedings to recover my freedom, either directly or through the reduction to the 2/3, which I would then have been completed and thus would get a chance on probation. Seriously, I thought about finding me another attorney and asked Julia to request the money from Wesley to pay it into her account. I no longer trusted him. Another letter of Michael was written very loving, but he concealed me the change of school and why, of which I knew already. He told me about his new girlfriend, a Portuguese. Rather than take the opportunity to learn Portuguese, he taught her Spanish because it was easier for him, as he wrote. Lazy either. This I wrote him and tried to lure him by telling him about the many beautiful Brazilian girls. His picture adorned my wall in the cell now, along with the many postcards of Julia, a postcard from Rome by Sister Margaret, and a beautiful drawing by Andrea. The cell had now changed to be very clean. Since I now had plenty of time, I saw every day for order and cleanliness. With Donna Edith, this was not an easy task, but I got it done. I began to do something for my body, spent daily 30 to 40 minutes running in the yard. In the cell, I did my daily exercise, wrote and read a lot. At that time, I read the thick novel by Alex Haley, Roots, but in Portuguese for a change. Nevertheless, no less thrilling and exciting. Atos de Amor by Elian Kazan was already waiting for me after that. I still listened, however, samba at any hour of the day, and was irritating now the guards with my singing. If they complained and told them, I sing so long and so loud until you people chuck me out of here. My new nickname by the guards and all others was Pagodeira. The threat of forced relocation in any of the other pavilions was initially banned. After I wrote a letter to the director saying that I suffered from claustrophobia and couldn't stay with many in a cell, and therefore asked for a transfer to the PE, I was called a week earlier to the school, where I was told by Dr. Rosangela that the renovations were delayed and therefore no move was taking place. I concluded in written form with her the compromise that I ought to be transferred to PE if these renovations would take place. Otherwise, everything remained the same, and I would stay with Donna Edith. My doubts remained, however, whether this was the right decision, because, except Yasmin, all had been released from there already. Jaisa, Andrea, Gabi, Yuri, and many more. Secretly, I set myself the limit. If Yasmin should also be released, then I would request an immediate transfer. Until then, I waited. As a teacher for the Portuguese classes, they didn't want me. I didn't even care anymore. I was tired of it all. Before I threw my job, I had calculated that I'd get along about 6 months with my earned and saved money, but I wasn't planning to stay as long as this, hoping that finally something would happen. Then came Wesley and brought no good news. The judge dismissed semi-aberto. Reason? I was a foreigner, and my residence would therefore not be recognized because I hadn't lived there before the detention. I took it with composure because somehow I wasn't expecting anything else. Wesley just annoyed me when he constituted as if he would have always expected this result and no other. Long ago his attitude was very different. Since he had received my letter, any further argument with him was unnecessary. To remain in terms of my goal to stay in Brazil, he wanted to apply again for semi-aberto, but for this he had to go to the higher court now, which meant the process was going to Brasilia. At first I was skeptical. On the other hand, I knew that I would be released from the detention center and automatically transferred to the Polícia Federal. What this meant I knew without a lawyer. If I was, however, released from the semi-open prison, no crowd afterwards where I was then. Wesley assured me that in Brasilia the decisions were taken faster than in Sao Paulo and were more often positive. This, however, I believed only when I saw it. During the week after Easter, he was planning once again to request the acceleration of my process because in the process of the appeal was still no movement. For everything together, he demanded another 800 reais. I was disillusioned. On my release, I would be broke. This was another reason why I felt tired of working. For what? To be scraping together the few reais I've worked for to start new somewhere? Slowly, I cared for nothing anymore. A new lawyer I could forget about by now. Logically, this would now be more expensive than the cost Wesley demanded again. Also, it would delay the process by months if I changed now the lawyer. So I was helplessly at Wesley's mercy. Once again, somebody was pushed into our cell, and with it the wonderful silence was over. Ironically, it was an old woman who gave the impression that she would soon kick the bucket. If they were thinking that I mimed the geriatric nurse, they were in for a big mistake. Who wasn't too old to be smuggling drugs wasn't too old for jail either. End of the story. I did nothing for that old woman. It was enough for me washing the pants Donna Edith peed in to prevent having the cell stinking.